Okay, thank you. All right, looks like we're back. I see we are recording and we are streaming live to the YouTube channel. So we will go ahead and call the meeting back to order from recess. The next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our program review tonight, we have Angie here. She's going to give us a program review on the special education program, right?
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I appreciate letting me speak with you tonight. I thought last year, I was planning to meet everyone right before the pandemic hit, and that didn't happen. So I thought I'd give you a little background about me, as I haven't been able to meet with you yet. I started last year. I'm an employee of Meeker and Wright Special Education Cooperative, but I work exclusively with Delano school districts. And my background is as a speech language pathologist. I worked primarily with middle and high school age, and also with setting 4 programs through Meeker and Wright Special Ed Cooperative. I'm also a clinical supervisor and adjunct professor at St. Cloud State, and I have some background working in hospitals and nursing homes, all in speech pathology. This is my second year in the special education coordinator position. I believe most of you are familiar with Meeker and Wright Special Ed Cooperative, but I thought I'd just give a slight overview on that. We have 7 member districts in the cooperative. Each of the member districts have a coordinator that works with their district. And then the cooperative also provides some shared services for our low incidence disabilities. So for example, students that may need vision support, audiology, occupational therapy, a single district might not have the students' need for a full-time position in that area. So ASICO helps provide that service. We also have behavior analysts that we can use in the districts, psychology services, birth to 3 services, and there are also alternative setting 4 programs. There's 9 programs throughout the co-op. And then we also provide some special staff development topics for the districts. The next few slides are child count data, and I'm just going to go over briefly some of the data, and we can, if you have questions at the end, just let me know. But you'll see our 7 member districts and the % of students receiving special education services as compared to the total district enrollment. So you'll notice we're at about 15% when we look at students all the way up to our 21-year-olds, so birth to 21. And you can see how we compare to some of the other districts in the co-op. The next slide actually breaks it down more on whether they are a resident of our district or if they're an out of resident student that comes to Delano for services. As you see, we gain students in Delano. What I also do is I disaggregate the data to look at the students that are leaving Delano to see if there's any type of trends, if there's any specific disability category that's leaving Delano. We want to see why that might be so we can adjust programming. There doesn't seem to be any trends, and not many students are leaving Delano, which is great to see. We're actually bringing in a lot of students from other districts. Okay, and this slide here takes out some of the early childhood students and looks just at K-12. Our numbers hovered around 12% of students receiving some form of special education services since 2017. This year there's been a lot of unique things with COVID and with spring. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about the challenges that the special ed team has encountered, but also some of the unintended benefits. So hopping down to that second point there, before we started school back, there were lots of questions about masks and personal protective equipment. It worked a lot with some of our staff working with our populations who have intense medical needs to make sure we had the needed PPE for our support staff and our teachers and for the students. We were a little worried at the beginning about mask adherence and the ability for some of our students to wear masks. But our teachers, parents, and students have done really a nice job of building their capacity of wearing masks. We were able to provide some accommodated masks with clear openings for some of our deaf and hard of hearing students and teachers, and that's been really effective. As time went on and we were looking at our students that were in hybrid or in distance learning, we had to come up with a framework to prioritize in-person services. As I'm sure everyone can appreciate, we really want everyone in school when it's safe, but we had to come up with and as an objective as possible, a matrix to try and determine who could come in for additional time. So some of our students who have very intense physical needs that just couldn't be provided over a camera were some of our first to come in, or students who were not maybe meeting their goals or just had challenges getting to school. They were brought in for some additional time. We had a lot of changes in our service delivery model. Even as early as the beginning of pandemic, the special ed teachers at Delano were providing synchronous instruction to their special ed students, which was great to see. Some of our students really needed that one-on-one or small group connection, and they were able to get that throughout. And our special ed staff have really been working tirelessly on the due process paperwork side of special ed. We just had to make sure that we are fulfilling what we set out to do in the students' IEP plans, and our teachers and special ed, or excuse me, and speech pathologists, social workers, all have done a nice job of communicating with parents and setting up meetings and making sure everyone's on the same page. There of course, been a lot of mental health concerns. I guess the one unintended benefit of that is that the whole district's really working collaboratively to focus on social emotional learning. And we've been doing work with even our littlest kids 3 to 5 to work on that social emotional learning. Some of the virtual meetings, I think it has been an unintended benefit. We've had more parent participation. I think it's really difficult for many parents to make our IEP meetings after school. And so it's actually been very nice to have that option for parents. I don't see them all being virtual meetings, but I think that they've been very focused and parents have appreciated it. Currently, we're working on curriculum alignment in the special ed program to make sure that we are covering all the needs and trying to align district-wide. It's been nice that this year we've been able to purchase the Sunday curriculum, which is a structured literacy Orton Gillingham-based curriculum in our elementary and intermediate. And so some of our teachers will have the opportunity to do training in April for that. So I'm excited about that, and some just additional training opportunities with some of our social emotional learning also. We've seen an increase in special ed referrals. We have more students going to the private school than we had in the past. We've been doing a lot of great collaboration with them. I'm always impressed of our special ed staff when we collaborate with the private schools. They're just a great resource, and they really work with parents to make it a great relationship and help the kids when they're at their private school as well as when they're in Delano. And then right now we're just doing a lot of planning for extended school year services. Some of our special education students will access the regular education supports. Some of our students will qualify for our extended school year or special ed summer school. So we're underway and planning for that. So that was just what I had, but what type of questions do you guys have for me?
I don't have any. Anyone else?
I don't have any questions. I'm really excited you purchased the Sunday system. That is an awesome system to use.
I was waiting.
Yeah, the
That was
teachers
super
are
excited
like,
about that one.
the teachers are liking it so far, and it's been working really well. So
It's awesome. Thank you.
yes, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Great update.
Thank you very much.
Oh, my computer is gonna freeze while I try and stop sharing.
All right, thank you, Angie. All right, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. As usual, past board meeting minutes, financial affairs are all linked within the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Jenny, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Jenny, second by Corey. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Mr. Gearke,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Deppa,
Aye.
Ms. Rosno,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
and Ms. Roser.
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is the resolution for acceptance of gifts. which is linked within the agenda. It's pretty short tonight, whereas target $22 for Delano Elementary School. Dorn Scholarship, $1,000 for athletics activities and hockey boosters, $214 for hockey brochures. Generously offered to donate to the Delano Public School District. As always, we thank everyone for their donations to the Delano Public Schools. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution for acceptance of gifts?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Rachel, second by Corey. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Ms. Roser,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
Ms. Deppa,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Gerke.
Aye.
All right, resolution passes. Next item on the agenda is our personnel matters. I know we were having some trouble bringing this up digitally tonight, but we managed to get a copy up here. I know most of us looked at it ahead of time too, but I wanted to call it out specifically because there's a lot going on with personnel matters this month.
Yeah.
Specifically wanted to recognize a couple of long-term teachers and administrators who are retiring. We have from an educator standpoint, Lisa Downer, basic skills, 15 years of service in Delano Public Schools. Marie Thomas, a longtime face at the high school as an administrative assistant, 16 years of service. Melanie Soderberg, 26 years as a language arts teacher, and Jerry Schouts, longtime, 37 years, kind of a pillar in the math department at the high school. And then on the admin side, we have Diane Johnson retiring after 17 years at Delano Public Schools in the community ed area. And then Joe View, 22 years in various roles within the school district, most recently as the intermediate school principal there. So a lot of collective years of service there, and I'd like to wish them all well in their future endeavors. And then from a master's degree standpoint, we have a couple of teachers that I'd like to call out too that are getting master's degree. Tim Lingen, Hannah Rochelle, Stephanie Schreier, and Christina Zajmi, if I pronounced that right. I'm not sure if I did or not, but congratulations. We always like to acknowledge when people continue their higher education as educators here in Delano Public Schools. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you, Corey. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's personnel matters?
Jenny, I'll make that motion.
I'll go ahead and second. Motion by Jenny, second by Lisa. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Ms. Deppa,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Gerke,
Aye.
Ms. Roser.
Aye.
Okay, personnel matters passes. Next item on the agenda is our public comment section. School patrons are given the opportunity to address the school board regarding items not on the agenda. All patrons will be asked to state their name and address for the record. While the board appreciates feedback from the public in this forum, board members will not comment on or discuss topics brought up by speakers at this time. Don't see anybody in the building here. Paul, did anyone submit anything online ahead of time?
Nope, no comments.
Nothing for public comment tonight. Then we'll move on to our administrative report, starting with Superintendent Shane.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I would like to just take this opportunity to update you on 2 of the 4 work plans from the our strategic planning process. Obviously, we made some adjustments to our strategic planning process and our strategic plan this year for obviously being in the COVID situation. So I wanted to make sure that I'm able to share these with you. Hang on just a minute. Okay. First of all, I wanted to just share with you the two work plans I wanted to share with you briefly this evening are technology facilities. And I'm not going to go through the entire work plan here, but we had 5 major action steps that we wanted to achieve, which is basically to facilitate a one-to-one learning platform for all students pre-K-12 in the COVID era. And I'm happy to announce that we have achieved that, and we've continued to achieve that moving forward throughout this entire school year. We obtained feedback regarding feedback data regarding current use of Google tools with our teachers, our internal stakeholders by building. We provided a device for all teachers, para, students to accommodate all 3 learning models. We have established current baseline use of Google tools. We began PD learning opportunities for all staff, and we have a tech support plan for all users for each of the COVID learning models. Basically, we wanted to make sure that we produced an inventory master list that has a device for all internet users, gather results of surveys to establish baseline Google tools, and produce a PD proposal. And we did this on a relatively organic level, especially with the PD proposal. But basically, as I said, is we did create a master inventory list that had been produced and used for implementation purposes. And we've had several survey data that has been used throughout the school year at the building and program level. And basically, what we're.
It's a school board meeting.
No signs on the door showing up.
Basically, what we found throughout even last spring and into this year, just much more open dialogue of teachers sharing what they know about use of the Google Classroom, of all the Google tools that are at their disposal. And we've become very astute on how to do that. So when we initially put this work plan together, we just wanted to make sure that we could, no matter what learning model we're in, we're going to be able to have these technology tools and digital tools to continue the work that we do in the classroom at all levels, whatever role you were in the district. And we've achieved that. We're very proud of our staff, of what they've been able to do from the building level leadership all the way up to, or all the way to, throughout the classroom and throughout any position that you were in. We have been able to really facilitate the use of what, and we've succeeded and probably have exceeded the goals of our technology work plan. I'm very proud of that work. Now, if I can just. In the areas of facilities, our goal was basically to provide a safe and clean and disinfected learning environment for all students and staff in this COVID era. Won't go through necessarily the action steps there, but we wanted to make sure that we provided, we monitored traffic patterns on campus. We provided weekly deep cleaning at all buildings. We've cleaned all learning areas on a daily basis to meet the Minnesota Department of Health standards. And basically, to date, we have no spread of the virus in our facilities. So that's just a shout out to not only our custodians, but all of our staff members that have kind of partnered together to be very diligent to make sure that they're learning their classrooms, common areas, other areas and buildings where students and staff are working have been great. And so I'm very proud to, on behalf of the entire staff of the district, in these 2 work plans, we have really done a fantastic job. And we've been nimble, we've been able to move, and as we learned, the spreading of the virus people don't remember this, but at the beginning of the school year, we were cleaning surfaces between classes every day. And we've learned.
I'm sure some people remember that.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Maybe not the general public, but we learned through obviously experience in that piece that the virus doesn't necessarily spread as easy that way at all. It's much more of an airborne virus. So, but we've been able to maintain our facilities to keep a safe and clean learning environment. So those are the 2 work plans. Next month, I'll share the other work plans with you as well. I thought I'd break it up into a couple of segments. This is segment A. And I'm pleased to announce that we've got some good results from the work that everybody's done in these 2 areas.
That's great. Thank you. It's been a good process. Okay, then we'll, unless you have anything else, if anyone else has any other questions for Matt. Not, we'll move on to the principals. We'll start with Mr. View, the intermediate school.
Well, good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board, for the opportunity to share with you a couple of things that we've got going on at the intermediate school. Just actually a pretty brief list here tonight as we're starting our week right before spring break, but we will begin our review of our student family handbook at tomorrow's site-based meeting. We'll be divvying up some of the partitioning of that handbook to some of our members of that committee for review over the next month, and then hopefully by April or May, we'll certainly have that ready for you as board members to review that and update you with any changes that might be coming your way. We are in the midst of preparing for our MCA testing, which I'm sure all of you are aware that we kind of gave that a comb over last year, and we didn't have that. So it'll be interesting to see where, for example, our fourth graders test on the MCAs because they've never had that opportunity before. So we're just kind of anxious to see how and excited to see how those numbers will come back for us. I've also been in some contact with the Department of Education, and by their own admission, they know that these numbers will be, and I quote them, weird. So even all the way up the chain of command, they know that the data is going to be skewed differently than maybe we've seen in the past. So everybody kind of all the way up and down the chains of command are aware that this is definitely going to be an oddity or an outlier. So, but nonetheless, we're excited to see where our kids are for a variety of reasons. Probably foremost that our fast testing data has been pretty strong. So I'm hoping that we can not see too much of a fallback or a lag behind where we were. So, also, I'd like to just make an announcement that our intermediate school store is now taking orders online. I sent out an email to parents last week. There is a link online. We have purchased a Cricut and a 3D printing machine to produce some of these products. So Ms. Egley, who's heading that up, said, you know, it'd be great to have, you know, about 30 or 40 things to produce, but maybe not as many as 600 or 700. So, but I know that the kids are awful excited about putting these things together. For example, one of their 3D printer objects that they're selling can take 5 hours on the 3D printer to make. So, but they've got their hands full. They've done a wonderful job. It's been a great experience for our kids, even in this era that we're in. We've been able to get that off the ground, and the kids have just had a wonderful time. So if you get a chance, I would encourage you to see what products might be available. And then lastly, I'd just like to maybe give a brief update on the District Professional Development Committee. I know Sue was not able to join us last week, but we spent several minutes talking about our next year's plan. The day following our district PD meeting, we as an administrative team, along with QComp leadership and administrators, got together and started to sort out what next year is going to look like, and kind of are pushing towards more of an individualistic or a building type professional development plan that we will be working on over the next couple of months to have everything set and have a nice calendar set up next year for our staff as a whole. We also did talk about budget and budgetary concerns and the possibility of the DTA voting on $150,000 to be moved over to the general fund to help out the district with the fund balance. And we also are getting off the ground a little bit earlier this year than last year with regards to the Leadership and Educational Excellence Awards and the Educational Support Staff Awards. So we're going to be starting to solicit nominees for those awards during a most worthy year for anyone who can commandeer an award. Definitely would be well-deserved honors for anyone in those categories. So with that, I will entertain any questions that you may have.
I don't have any questions. A lot of great feedback on that school store concept though, so that's great. Yeah, super cute stuff. So nice work there.
Absolutely. That's all, Ms. Egley.
Yep, I talked to Ms. Egley today. I gave her my check. I've already made 2 purchases. I purchased the pencil holder and the wooden sign. So I'm looking forward to getting those products in my office, whether at home or in the office, in the district office. So very neat program.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Joe. Any other questions? Not, we'll move on to Mr. Voigt from the high school.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's a pleasure to speak with you on behalf of Delano High School. And I figured this evening I'd give you an update on our site improvement plan, speaking a little bit about our progress relative to our goal areas. And the first goal area is really reflective of reading and our desires to improve reading skills in our students. This, the content area of reading really allows us to kind of wrap up the work with QComp, achievement gap reduction in terms of world's best workforce, as well as our college and career readiness goal. We've obviously, over the past year and a half or so, have had a strong connection with our reading goal and the literacy initiative. Of course, this year being a COVID year, we've sort of put a pause, at least on district-wide and building-wide action strategies related to the literacy initiative. The good news, however, is that our individual QComp groups have kept that ball rolling. So in the department groups that they've established for themselves, they've continued the work of the literacy initiative for, of course, the pursuit of improving reading skills. We're using district-wide late start days for those. And of course, as Joe mentioned, we do have MCAs coming up here next month. And although the data, as he quoted, will be weird, it'll at least give us some sort of measurement as to our progress. The second goal area that we have year over year is the graduation rate. And obviously we strive for 100% graduation rate. Distance learning has certainly been troublesome with respect to this particular goal. And we are fortunate, of course, now that the vast majority of our students are returned or have returned in person, as we are seeing much better results from those students, of course. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to be meeting our 100% goal, even though our counselors and assistant principals have done a fantastic job of identifying students who are at risk and working to support those students. We have had 2 students transfer to schools outside of our district. We've had 1 drop, unfortunately, and we have also 2 that are that have chosen homeschooling. And then there's 3 more who we are very closely supporting because they're very much at risk for graduation. So all of our teachers have done a fantastic job of working with the unique needs of each individual student over the course of this troublesome year. So can't thank our staff enough for all the work that they've done. And our last goal that I wanted to touch on is our third goal, which is effective and supportive, or implementing an effective and supportive program during our COVID-19 school year. It has been interesting as each new transition has been thrust upon us. There's always a bit of turbulence the first week or 2 before we reach a homeostasis of sorts. But as I mentioned a moment ago, now that we're back in person, we're seeing a lot of positive results. Obviously, we predicted from the very beginning that in-person learning was the best form of learning for our students. And I think we definitely have the results to indicate that that's the case. Distance learning, however, has been somewhat of a blessing and a curse. While our students were remote, we were able to facilitate ongoing instruction. The downside, however, is that some students now are taking advantage of distance learning and just, sort of taking it upon themselves to stay home rather than come to school late. Well, if they wake up late or whatever, I'll just jump on the computer. So we're having some struggles with attendance, but on the bright side, at least they're still staying connected and can do so remotely. So that's been an interesting evolution of this school year. I do want to give you a couple of updates on some very important events here in the near future. One of them is prom. Our prom advisors are working feverishly to strategize the best plans. And as of now, we are looking at a Delano seniors only prom. And then depending on guidance and where capacities allow, we might be able to allow those seniors to bring a guest of their choosing. It's been a little bit difficult, to be honest, to identify or nail down a capacity number because a lot of the employees at the Lafayette Club where we attend have been laid off or they're furloughed or just working part-time due to the restrictions. So some of that communication has been a little bit disrupted, but we will be having a prom of some sort, and it's likely to include a grand march and a dinner. And that's pretty much all that the guidance will allow at this point. But we're constantly monitoring the new regulations and guidance that comes out so we can expand as we are able to. And the next, of course, big event is graduation. And I sent an email to all of our seniors recently joking that, although it's not really a funny joke, that we've been thinking about graduation for quite some time. But now, now that it's the end of March, we actually need to start thinking about graduation. And we have identified some seniors based on staff recommendations who would be beneficial to that planning process. And so I'm trying to gather all those kids up now so we can get a sense for what type of graduation they would like, of course, within the confines of all of the rules and regulations that we must adhere to. So stay tuned, certainly, for more information about graduation. I will be bringing you the handbook proposals next month's work session. So our site-based leadership team and all of our staff groups have been working to review our student handbook, and you'll see those proposals come forward next month. And the last thing I want to touch on is just the concerns with student mental health. I know that over the course of this year, that has been sort of a fairly consistent question that has come up. And when those questions have previously come up, it's been difficult for me to kind of assess what the level of concern is relative to years past because of our lack of connection with the students. I will say that in the recent weeks, since we've returned to in-person learning, it seems like mental health concerns have sort of spiked, which has been somewhat of an interesting phenomenon because we would have expected probably that when people return to in-person, some of those things would be alleviated. My suspicion, however, is that those concerns were there all along. It's just that now that we're a little bit more connected, we're able to respond, or people feel a little bit more comfortable kind of reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, up until now, or at least up until maybe January and February, students were, sort of unfortunately left to suffer with some of their needs. But now that we're back in person, we're able to respond and get them the support and help that they need. So obviously it's a very real and present concern, and we are working as best we can with those families and all of the service providers that we're associated with to get students support. So that concludes my prepared remarks. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the high school.
I don't have any questions, but one, thank you so much for being creative as a parent of a senior. I'm excited that, maybe they'll have some of these opportunities available to them, and definitely super cool to be focusing on kids who need a little more support after coming back. Whether they had it before or not, or coming back, I'm happy to see that we're there to help them. Yeah, second that. It's nice to hear that it's being recognized as well. Sometimes I think it's, I'm glad that you're recognizing it and that kids are getting help. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Last on our principal's report, Mr. Hinker from the elementary school.
Good evening, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak with you this evening and provide just to speak to some of the highlights at the elementary school from the last month. I'll keep my statements brief this evening. It's been nice that we've been in a groove at the elementary school since January. We've not missed any days of school. We've had our students in place. So it's nice to have a stretch of days here where we've got not a whole lot of action. So really back to normal business at the elementary school. Last week on Friday, we finished up our Imagination Fair, and the Imagination Fair at the elementary is what schools typically call the Science Fair. We had to get creative with it this year, and we did it. We did a digital version of the Science Fair this year, where students did their Science Fair projects at home, and then they submitted those projects to their teachers along with videos and photos. So currently we're taking the photos and videos from those submissions, and we're going to create a video montage that we're going to share with the other teachers in the building, so that way other students have a chance to participate and take a look at those activities. One of the unfortunate things this year is we saw a pretty big decline in the participation rate of the science fair. Typically, prior to the science fair, we have a presentation or a set of presenters that will come in, talk to the kids about science, about the scientific method, and then they'll put in a little bit of plug for the science fair. Well, since we couldn't have that presentation, we didn't have quite the same buy-in this year, but still some really great creative projects. Another piece that we have going on later this spring is we have an art fair. Typically, we alternate between the Imagination Fair and the art fair. Last year, we missed out on the science fair because of the distance learning. So we wanted to get back on schedule. So we're holding the science fair and the art fair in the same school year. And the art fair will have the same format as the Imagination Fair, where students will submit photos and videos of themselves with their project, possibly describing what their project is about. And then we'll put those videos together and allow our students to share it across the building. So some neat things to get our kids excited about school coming up this spring. Later this spring, as Joe and Barry both alluded to, we have our MCA testing at the elementary. Mid-April is when we have our third grade students will participate in the MCA test. With the addition of all of the extra computers that we have in our building, we should be able to wrap up those tests in a pretty short amount of time and not have that be a major impact on our day-to-day business. And then later in April, we will take a look at doing our end of the year fast testing. Also this year, we're taking a look at our summer school. We're going to have a summer school again this year. Last year, we had a very, very abbreviated version of summer school where we had 4 teachers with just a few students each, and that summer school was all done virtually. We're looking to have an in-school summer school option for our students this year, and we're in the initial planning stages of that. We've already identified a few teachers, looking for a few more. We're looking to have it be a greater number of students that we're able to reach via summer school this year, and that would be running July 12th through August 12th. So look for some more details about summer school coming up. And then the last piece that I would like to share with you is that we're in the initial planning stages for the 21-22 school year. We've already worked on our master schedule, and then later this spring, our teachers are going to be working on class lists. So that concludes my update for you this evening. Would be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
No questions for me. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the administrative reports is Mary Reeder, Business Manager.
Just a couple things, major budget mode going on right now. So hopefully in the April board meeting, I'll be bringing a preliminary budget, FY22 budget to the board, just to kind of give you a quick overview of what we're looking at. We'll be finalizing everything and you'll be approving the final budget in June. Matt LeBeau and I will be going over some LTFM or long-term facilities maintenance projects that we're going to be looking forward to for the next school year, because our 10-year plan, I'll be bringing to the board preliminary work session in May for final approval in June as well. Anybody have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next on the agenda is Diane Johnson, Community Education Director.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on Community Ed this evening. We are going to actually do a print brochure for summer. It will be a much smaller brochure. It will only be 16 pages versus the normal 48 as a cost savings measure. But as we explored various marketing efforts, this seemed to be the most cost effective and give us the most bang for our buck, so to speak. In the meantime, we're continuing to announce our classes a month to 6 weeks at a time. The spring ECFE registration opened last week and some of our classes are already filled. We, of course, are still under capacity limitations in the ECFE world right now. We are adding a Wednesday morning class starting after spring break of ECFE in the park. We had that last summer and it went well, so excuse me. So we're starting that now after spring break. And in the event of bad weather, we'll move inside, of course. We're continuing to offer our take-home bags for ECFE, and we have reduced the price on those, hoping that more people will take advantage of that opportunity. And we will also be offering summer ECFE classes again this summer, 3 days a week, the same as we did last summer. In the preschool world, we opened registration for next year on the 23rd of February. Registrations have been strong. We have 94 children registered so far, and 45 registered for wraparound care. We are returning to our normal scheduling model where people can pick between 2 and 5 days. The hybrid design will be gone and we'll be back to a normal preschool schedule next year. So that's good. In early childhood screening, we've already screened 134 students this year during the 14 dates that we have had since we were able to resume in-person screening. We've got several more dates coming up yet this spring. We're booked solid through April. And so it's been a very busy year in the screening world. Tiger Kids Club, after last summer being so quiet, and we had, I think, about 65 kids registered last summer. So far for this summer, we are at 176 kids and registrations are still coming in. So it's moving toward looking like a much more normal summer. A normal summer for us is around 250 kids registered. So things are going in the right direction for TKC as well. And currently in TKC, we are hiring staff, both adults who are looking for summer employment and also for our high school aides. So if there's anybody who is looking for summer employment, we urge you to check out our postings on the district website. And I'll also mention for the gardeners in the group that Tiger Kids Club is in the midst of their Gertens fundraiser. And the plants that you can get through that are beautiful. It helps benefit, the proceeds help benefit Tiger Kids Club. And all the ordering process is online this year. So if you have a desire to order plants, give us a call or shoot us an email and we'll get you the link for ordering. In the youth enrichment world, we're finding that people are eager to get their kids back into in-person classes. We brought back our art classes with Tamara Kowalski and they have been very popular. Several filled and waitlisted. And we're seeing strong registration numbers for the classes that we do have coming up. In recreation, we're working on summer planning with all of the various coaches. Of course, we're still going to be under COVID guidance. We don't know exactly what that will look like for summer, but we're anticipating it will be similar to last summer. So we're planning accordingly. And we also just added a football spring training strength and conditioning program in cooperation with the varsity football coaches. So we have 33 students who are participating in that program right now. In aquatics, we will be finishing up our winter session of swim lessons this Saturday. Of course, there was about a 2-week disruption in there with the boiler having died. And then we're going to be opening registration for the spring session of swim lessons later this week. So parents can watch for that online. And last but not least, Tiger Activity Center, we're busy booking all the various sports associations into space for spring and summer sports, all the outdoor facilities. We're looking forward to having more access for our members inside the TAC, as hopefully the weather will hold and school sports will be able to start outside this spring and not hopefully be caught in the middle of a blizzard like we have sometimes lately. So that is what I have this evening. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
No questions for me.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our administrative reports. Next, we'll hear from our student school board representatives, John and Bridget.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
This month we concluded our 7th through 12th side of surveys. And so I'm going to talk about two things and John is going to talk about two things. So the first thing we found is that with masks, as we got older, kids got more and more they did not like the mask the older they got. So 7th and 8th graders were more 3s on a scale of 1 to 5. They didn't mind them. And as you got older and older, there were way more 1s and 2s. So that was kind of interesting. And then the next thing that we found in terms of how kids like being in schools with cheating is that as kids got way older, cheating became more and more common in the upperclassmen of 10th, 11th, 12th versus 7, 8, 9. So 7th and 8th graders, there were cheaters every now and then, but in 10th, 11th, 12th, it was way more common that there was cheating. I would say over 90% had cheating. So that was an interesting thing we found. John, you can go now.
Yeah. As we went up in the grades, the number of kids that actually liked being in person, we had the two statistics for every single grade in Delano was, the masks and then how much they liked being in person and how much they liked being online. As you got into the higher grades, kids actually put less and less 5s for how much they liked being in person. Because in the lower grades, it was almost, the trend line, it was everybody liked being in school. The reason for a lot of kids put in the little blank spot for why they liked being in person was actually not because they don't like being in person, it's because they enjoy the leniency and convenience and how fast it is to do things online. So that's why in the upper grades, the amount of 5s and how much kids liked online schooling actually increased. So it started out pretty low in the lower grades and kind of just worked its way up into the higher grades. And again, a lot of these kids that put 5s for how much they liked being online recognize that they learn better in person, so they know it's the way to do it. They just like the convenience of being at home and being able to take the time to do whatever they want to do.
Any questions?
No questions. Thanks, you guys. That was
Didn't have individuals this time.
Yep. Thank you. All right, next item is board reports, starting with Masiko. Amy, were you there this month?
Yeah, so I attended Masiko. It was a pretty standard meeting agenda. Certainly Janelle shared with us some various pieces of information. Since we haven't been able to go and tour the different programs that we normally do, especially for newer board members, we've been doing virtual tours. So we were able to do another virtual tour of the Wings and West Side Care and Treatment sites. So that was good. And I can certainly share that link to the YouTube for that virtual tour if people are interested in that as well. We talked through the child count summary that was shared earlier in the meeting. So we spent some time on that data, and then also she provided the dates for the day at the Capitol for our region, which is March 16th. So you might, if you're interested, be able to note that. She shared with us some personnel items, mainly that we're seeking paraprofessionals to fill a couple open spots. And she has some interviews scheduled for some school psychologist positions. So hopefully we have that meeting tomorrow. So looking forward to seeing if she was able to fill that spot. And that's it. Everything else can be viewed on the link shared in the agenda.
Thank you, Amy. Next item is an update on Wright Tech Center.
Just a quick update. Mary had already mentioned their request for revenue had not increased from the previous year, but there is a possibility of asking for increases in future years, of course, but our next meeting is April 6th and everything else is in the link there.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Last on the board reports is professional development.
Hi, Lisa. This is Sue. Joe had provided a brief update related to what was discussed this last week as I was unable to attend.
Got it. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to new business. I've got a number of items under new business tonight. The first of which is to approve some surplus items.
Yep, we've been compiling a few items that are no longer needed to be used by the district. Some stainless steel items from community ed and from the high school food service. Exercise stretching tables from the special ed department. Some hockey items, boys hockey. We had some helmets and some breezers. And then the doors that are listed on there, number 6 and number 7, those are actually brand new doors that were supposed to be used at the intermediate school, but were not correct. So they've never been used, brand new. So we're gonna try and see if somebody would have some use for those. Then the 2 red gas cans, they are not metal, which is required for us to have on hand. So we need to get rid of what we've got, and we've already brought in metal ones to replace them. And then we have quite a number of old expired fire extinguishers that are obsolete. We did have to replace those probably about 3 years ago. So we're just looking to get rid of some of them. Some people do want them. They are still usable. They just are obsolete and can't be used by the school district anymore. So these are items that will either be disposing of, recycling, or trying to sell.
All right, thank you. I have a motion to approve this list of surplus property as Mary has described.
I'll make the motion. I will second it.
Motion by Corey, second by Jim. Any discussion? Hearing none, move to a roll call vote.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Roser,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Gierke,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
Ms. Deppa.
Aye.
All right, that motion is approved. Next item is to approve the first and only read of policy 616, school district system accountability due to a scheduled review. I have a motion to approve policy 616. Jenny will make that motion.
Depot second.
Motion by Jenny, second by Rachel. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's move to a roll call vote.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
Ms. Deppa,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Gierke,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Ms. Roser.
Aye.
Policy 616 is approved. Next item on the agenda is to approve the first and only read of policy 618, assessment of student achievement due to non-substantive changes. I have a motion to approve policy 618.
I'll make the motion.
Jenny, I'll second. Motion by Corey, second by Jenny. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll move to a roll call vote.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Gierke,
Aye.
Ms. Roser,
Aye.
Ms. Depa,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau.
Aye. Right, policy 618 is approved. Next item is to approve the first read of policy 613, graduation requirements due to substantive and legal reference changes.
So
We have a
moved.
motion to approve policy 613.
So moved.
Amy Johnson.
Amy, thank you.
I'll second.
Motion by Amy, second by Corey. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Roser,
Aye.
Ms. Depa,
Aye.
Mr. Gearke,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
and Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
All right, policy 613 is approved. Next item is to approve the first read of policy 614, school district testing plan and procedure due to substantive and legal reference changes. Do I have a motion to approve policy 614?
Depa motion.
Jenny, I'll second. Motion by Rachel, second by Jenny. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will move to a roll call vote.
Mr. Gearke,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Depa,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
and Ms. Roser.
Aye.
Policy 614 is approved. Approve first read of policy 614F, district test security procedures due to substantive changes. Do I have a motion to approve policy 614F?
I'll make,
Motion.
I can make the motion.
Motion by Jim,
Second.
motion by Jim, second by Sue. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, move to a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Roser,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
Ms. Depa,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Gearke.
Aye.
Right, policy 614F is approved. Next item is to approve the first read of policy 615, testing accommodations, modifications, and exemptions for IEPs, section 504 plans, and LEP students due to substantive and legal reference changes. Do I have a motion to approve policy 615? Jenny
Amy
will make,
Johnson will make the motion.
Jenny, then Amy.
motion by Jenny, second by Amy. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Ms. Depa,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Gearke,
Aye.
Ms. Roser.
Aye.
First read of policy 615 is approved. Next item, last item is to approve the first read of policy 619, staff development for standards due to substantive and legal reference changes. Do I have a motion to approve policy 619?
So moved. Amy
I'll-
Johnson.
Was Amy?
Yep.
Motion by Amy, second by Corey. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will move to a roll call vote.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Roser,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Ms. Segwin,
Aye.
Mr. Gearke,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
Ms. Depa.
Aye.
All right, first read of policy 619 is approved. That was the last item on the agenda. Therefore, we are adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.